the order. Bob and John, can you hear us? Good, okay. All right, roll call. So it looks like we're missing Nancy, so I'm gonna seat Jason or Nancy. So hopefully everybody got the meeting minutes. Are there any, I'm sorry, are there any additions or changes to the agenda, John? Anything that we need to know about? No?
Nothing on my side.
Okay. All right, so hopefully everybody had a chance to review the minutes from last meeting. Are there any changes, additions, or comments on the minutes? Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes. David seconds. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, any opposed? Gregory, okay, 6. And opposed and abstentions? Abstains. Thank you. All right. I know they're on the agenda later on, but let me just make a quick comment so they don't think that we're ignoring them. So I just wanted to reintroduce Bob and welcome Nick as well. So guys, welcome. If there's any questions or anything that we can help with throughout, just let us know. And as we get to those agenda items where the official introduction is, if you guys would like to say anything, you're welcome. So, all right, so let's move on to unfinished business. Today we're going to continue on with the 2026 Plan of Conservation and Development. I've got the timeline here. So before I pass it over to John, we're doing really good on timing. So tonight we're going to review the transportation, utilities, and community facilities section. Basically working towards a June implementation. So we've got basically from here an implementation review, complete draft, referral, and then public hearing and adoption. So there'll be a time to review everything as we get all of that put together. So what I'd like to do, John, I'll pass it on to you so that you can go over the review. I've got some notes and stuff from looking at it from our packet. So if anyone has any questions as we go through, I'm sure John can address those. I've got a couple, but John, if it works for you, why don't you go ahead and review that section for us?
Sure. Okay. So I'm going to share screen. This is this is the last substantive chapter, and here it's coming up. And hopefully people have a copy of this in their packets. But it's so this is the last substantive chapter that we are, at least at this point, proposing to produce for the draft plan. Again, this combined, just as a reminder to everyone, the commission, about almost a year ago, had basically decided that they liked, broadly speaking, the format of the prior plan and all of the topics covered. There were something like 16 different topics covered, and upon discussion with the regulations committee and then with the full commission, it was agreed that a number of the 16 or so topics from the last plan would be sort of condensed a little bit, and chapters would be combined along like topics. And so this chapter combines a couple of different things: transportation, utilities, and community facilities. And we talk about each of those separate, but again, within the broad concept of keeping the community connected and making sure that people have resources for their sort of public needs. So we go through first the transportation stuff, which is, again, principally motor vehicle, principally passenger vehicle. We focus on the high traffic counts along Route 6, which is between 12 and 15,000 or 12 and 16,000 cars a day, which is obviously a major factor in municipal transportation planning. Again, a lot of our roads have date from the colonial era, and so a number of them are still relatively narrow, relatively windy. Makes for a quaint atmosphere if you're a local, sometimes challenging driving if you're from outside. We focus a little bit on the key intersections that have some difficulty, and these were identified in a series of CROG studies, Capital Region Council of Governments, the Route 6 corridor, the Hop River corridor, and some traffic safety problems, focusing again on the Route 66 interchange, Cards Mill Road and 66, and various intersections along the Route 6 and Hop River corridor. Talk a little bit about alternative transportation. Again, as Columbia is nearly exclusively, passenger vehicle driven. 99% of people have access to a car for transportation. We don't do a lot of transit. We don't do much walking, biking, or other. We talk a little bit about the Wyndham Regional Transit Center and the dial ride service. The senior center does have a couple of buses, and focus a little bit on the opportunities presented by the Hop River Trail and the small section of the airline trail. We then go into utilities. Again, water and wastewater. There is not a great deal of public utilities in these things. There are about 150 homes on some different community systems, as well, like the Dartmouth Village being one, and then certainly the larger community facilities, the senior center, town hall, the school, are community systems, and so therefore do have different reporting requirements with the Department of Public Health. Obviously, we are concerned about nutrient loading when it comes to our individual septic systems, particularly surrounding the Columbia Lake area. Talk a little bit about communications. Again, high-speed internet, and the amount of vulnerability that some of these lines, which are primarily above ground and are obviously subject to weather-related concerns. Newer developments, obviously, we want to continue that being relatively buried. And data transmission continues to be important as more and more people are working from home or having flexible work schedules. We also deal with community facilities, and some of these we talked about in previous chapters. But again, in terms of service provision to the town, we're quoting questions from the public input survey about the importance of various public services. The school system is generally listed as the most important, but followed closely by senior services, general government, and public works. So we focus on a lot of these specific topics. And again, we just review the schools, the public safety facilities, the public works complex. Wanted a little bit of updating on the former fire station and the town garage, and the need for perhaps broader facilities there. And then we get into Parks and Rec, which we covered a little bit in recreation opportunities as well, but it bears sort of repeating some of the key municipal parks and recreation facilities, particularly around the town beach and the town rec facility on Hennepin Road. A little bit about the town hall complex as well, and Yeoman's Hall, all the various uses for that, and as well as the annex. And then in touching on senior services as well. The broad goals, again, I don't need to read these all, but again, kind of focusing on those various issues, maintaining a safe and convenient transportation network, improving roads, and particularly with the key intersections. We talk about 6 and 66. I know in recent meetings with the First Selectman Everett, we also have been focusing on the problematic intersection at 87 and 66, which is something that we may want to add in here as well. And basically looking at increasing and maintaining our existing facilities in terms of our telecommunications, the town facilities, and housing and transportation options for seniors, because we did talk about senior facilities. And then we have a series of action items on that we can go through if anyone has questions, but it's sort of the to-do list. And again, I think we do want to focus a little bit, because these are relatively recent discussions, about the 66 and 87 intersection as well. That's some words. Happy to answer questions or receive input as appropriate, Mr. Chair.
Sure. Yeah, that was one note I had too, John, with the 87 and 66 intersection, making sure we're as comprehensive as we can with that. That's problematic too. So I probably have some questions, but I'll open it up to anyone on the commission. Yeah.
I have a pretty specific, maybe nitpicky question. It's on page 7 under paragraph 3.
All right. I'm sorry. Page 7.
Yes.
Paragraph 3.
Paragraph 3.
Yep.
Just above the yellow highlighted area, which is another question I have. It says an alternative for school bus parking could be at the Horace Porter School. And it says the lot is currently not fully utilized. That's not an accurate statement.
Okay.
And I just caution you anybody putting that in there, because somebody will use it later on to say, yeah, we can park the buses there. I mean, you can park the buses there, but that lot is pretty utilized at nights and on the weekends, especially during the winter time.
Okay.
So I don't know if wording it is better or taking it out altogether.
I would agree with you.
I don't think you want to get involved with parking buses at a school. Not the way
Especially with
buses with, diesel and
the wreck-ins and
right, that's the ideas.
Anything else?
Yeah, my next question, which immediately follows, is why is this highlighted in yellow? Why is the yellow portion highlighted?
Yeah, because I just wanted a little bit more input on that, because there was a certain amount which was a little bit speculative here, and I just wanted to make sure that made sense to the group.
Yeah, actually, that's a question that I had, was if we had quantified the space needed, or if it was like, how did we get to that statement, I guess? Is that kind of what you're asking, John?
Yeah, exactly. And I think this came through. Some of this came through in, I think, some of our outreach and survey stuff. But it's, the end conclusion here is does not resolve the need for more permanent solution to space concerns at the town garage. I just want to make sure that we're stating that properly.
Was it input that there was just generalized, like we need more space? Is that kind of the input that was given?
Right.
Okay.
For anything specific or just more space?
I don't think it was specific, which is, I guess, my question too. Like, if we were to put something in there, John, we may want to just narrow it down to what they feel space that's needed is, or if it's just a comment of, well, we need more space without really kind of looking into it.
Yeah, that's fine. So this is one I had intended to check in with Mark Walter about, and we can just verify.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable. Do you have anything else, Jason?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Anybody else have anything for John, or questions or anything?
Yeah, I do.
Good.
John, under utilities,
Yeah.
do you want to include anything about electricity?
Sure. And I think we kind of talked about it broadly, but yeah, if we don't mention electricity specifically, I think
it could be under with communications, I suppose. But, one of the concerns I have is I know that electric company has been cutting a lot of trees in various neighborhoods. I don't know as that's been as successful as they want it to be. There's been a lot of power outages, so we want to maybe stress that.
Okay. Wait, say that again. Where you want to stress
the fact that there have been a lot of power outages.
Yeah, right.
It's not as dependable as people think it is.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And then under your town hall campus description, which is I think on page 9 and 10.
Yeah.
There's no mention of. There's a mention of the town library in the beginning, but there's no description of the library.
Yeah. Okay. I feel like we discussed the library in cultural resources.
Yeah, I think
Um,
that's where it is. But maybe you could refer to that or something like that.
all right,
I don't want
where,
people to think that we completely
sure.
left it out if they're just reading this section.
Yeah, where do we talk about that? The library, when we mentioned the library, the town campus? This
I think
section
I
deal
think
with
it
the
just
library.
It
Yeah.
mentions it in the town campus
Yep.
on page
Okay.
10
Yep.
or 9. And then one other thing on the bottom of page 7, when you're discussing, let me see if I can find it. I'm sorry, it's not there. It's hold on. 107. When you're discussing the beach and the Murphy House,
Yes.
you mentioned that the resident trooper is there. He is no longer there. He's, I
Oh,
think, in the town hall annex, which is mentioned. So
okay. The resident trooper, but okay. So we put him at the beach as well, huh? All right.
yeah,
Let's see.
that's a holdover from the last one, probably.
Okay.
He was there
Uh,
for
Town
10 years
Beach,
ago.
Murphy House, Bench of the Town Beach. Da, da, da. Ah, okay. Yep. Office for
I think it's at the
lifeguards
bottom of page. Yeah, you got it
and
there.
Marine Patrol. And okay.
Yeah, take that out, and then it's correctly mentioned when you talk about the
Yep.
town
Got it.
hall annex.
Okay. Cool.
Okay, that's it. Thanks.
Thanks, Bob. Anybody else have any questions, comments? Okay, from my part, John, I think it looks really, really good. I agree with the input that's been mentioned so far. I think, you know, the big focus is when we talk about traffic issues and the bad intersection, just making sure that we include 87 and 66. What else did I have? I agreed with the comments about quantifying things. So there was especially space needed. Because there was also a comment above that highlighted section about, you know, the size of the garage building is not sufficient for the town needs. The continued addition of new town roads will bring the need for even more maintenance equipment, storage and salt storage. So like, there's some assumption that there will be future town roads, which there may be, but it would just be nice to kind of quantify the space that's needed a little bit. Or if they don't know, leave it out. Um,
Yeah. Okay.
and then, yeah, there's good demographic information in here. And then, is there any, and maybe I missed it or maybe it's not important, John, just kind of what your thoughts are on this. Is there any utility to putting in any comments about reviewing and updating zoning regulations? Maybe more around like exploring the potential, expanding the Dartmouth Village senior housing complex or providing additional low income senior housing, like, is there anything that we need to mention as far as actions of zoning?
Oh, yeah, I think
Isn't
that's
there a
probably
section?
right.
Isn't there a section on housing, John?
There is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's where it should be.
I just wonder if there's, yeah,
And it's possible, there might be something in there that I missed, but it stuck out to me, so. But
okay.
that was,
So
that
yeah,
was all
something
I,
like this. Something like that. I don't know if you can see that decently.
I can't, but I trust.
Yeah, so we'll include where we talk potential expanding Dartmouth Village. We added at the end, including any necessary regulatory changes to enable expansion.
That's on page 13, item 10?
Correct. Is that a little bit more visible?
Yeah,
Do you want to be that specific with Dartmouth Village, or do you want to just have senior housing as a general concept of expansion? I
Yeah.
don't know if there's a whole lot of room at Dartmouth Village for expansion.
yeah, that may not be a bad idea, just to generalize it.
Because I know we're trying to push senior housing in somewhere in the town, not necessarily at Dartmouth Village.
And that'll become kind of self-evident in this, because when you look at the demographics and the percentages of, you know, over 40, you know, they break it down over 40, over 60, it's significant.
I think there's some topographic issues at Dartmouth Village that are going to preclude you from enlarging it too much.
Okay.
Any other comments? John,
We
anything
just
to?
we got something online. Ann Dunnick noted online that the Murphy House also houses Parks and Recreation.
Thought that was in there.
Okay. Thank you, Ann. Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Ann. We'll make a note of it. I think that's mentioned there, but we'll double check afterwards.
Yeah. And I'm gonna let me just quickly save this.
All right. Anything else, John, to wrap this portion of it up?
No. So okay. So I would just note, and well, I think this is the next agenda item.
Yeah.
As I said, this is we'll update this document, and then what we'll do next time. And so the next pieces to sort of be reviewed and discussed was basically we'll next month, or if you'd like, I mean, it depends on what our schedule is for next meeting, if we have one at the end of the month. Or basically, whenever we have our next meeting, we will combine all of the draft chapters, and you know, there's 10 of them at this point. Combine them all into a single document, and then what we will add is an implementation table, which basically will take. And so the thing I would note is that in here, let me show my screen again. So at the end of each chapter to this point, all the substantive chapters, we have a list of action items. And I screwed that up. And so each of the action items, we will basically, in all of the chapters, we will extract those, put them in a single table, and add detail to them, which is to say, so each action item will be given a principal actor, you know, so like lobbying Connecticut DOT to make improvements would probably be the work of the town administrator. So it'll be assigned to the town administrator with support from, you know, the town planner, public works. We have a town facilities committee, right? That those committees would assist. We'll give it a priority in terms of time frame, and then we'll also give it an estimated sort of order of magnitude cost. So again, you know, working with DOT lobbying is a very low cost because it's just staff time. If we're looking at, you know, providing additional crossings and safety improvements around Columbia Lake, that, you know, is a public works project, but it could be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. So, you know, we're basically going to assign each of these action items, you know, a principal actor, supporting actors, priority, and cost, so that all of the goals, basically the entire to-do list of the plan of conservation and development, will be all together in one place, in basically a one table. And that would be essentially the conclusion of the plan. And so all of that will be assembled for review essentially at the next meeting. And at that time, we can sort of review again where we are and determine if we're essentially ready to schedule a public hearing for it. And if you are, you know, again, the plan of conservation and development is exclusively the purview of the planning commission, in this case, the Planning and Zoning Commission. But we are required to have a public hearing on it. And at least 65 days prior to the public hearing, we are required to refer it to the Board of Selectmen, to the town clerk, and to the COG, the Capital Region Council of Governments, for their commentary and input. And all of that, again, has to happen 65 days before the public hearing opens. So, you know, if everything looks good for next month's meeting, if let's assume we accept this at the beginning of March, we would then have to not schedule the meeting until the, you know, mid mid-May or so, at which time we could have the hearing and theoretically adopt. But at this point, we have basically reviewed all of the substance of the plan.
Okay, perfect, and really good job on this, John. I mean, we're right on track. On time, so I look forward to seeing the compiled documents and we can go from there, so appreciate it. Any final comments on anything? Okay.
Nope. Okay.
All right.
Thanks for all of your input throughout the process.
Yeah, no, thank you, John. You did a really good job on this. All right, so there's no new business. Item 6, so we'll move on to item 7. So we canceled the last regulation subcommittee. We will have another meeting on February 17th at 1 p.m. if anyone would like to attend that. So continue moving that forward.
We'll be there.
With that,
We'll be there.
oh, okay. All right. Is that Walt? Do you know if that?
I don't know right now.
Okay, we'll get together.
I would say probably.
Okay, if we need to figure something out. Okay, item 8, communications and reports. So I've asked Savannah to do a quarterly zoning enforcement report review. So you guys have an updated enforcement list, and I want to lay the groundwork for this just a little bit. Because a lot of this comes down to our enforcement posture and kind of our thoughts on enforcement. The first thing to know is that this is probably the worst job in town to have to be a zoning enforcement officer. It's not easy. There's various reasons why people get on the list, how things happen. There's always two sides to the story. And in our country, even our murderer gets a fair trial. So the least that we can do is not litigate this too much. But I think for the sake of transparency, Savannah, if you could kind of go through the list and give us the highlights.
Yep. And
then obviously the commission has any questions, feel free to ask as well. But I thought it was important just to go over it quick.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Justin. I'm gonna stick pretty much to the first page, and you guys have a new report updated as of today. That was at the top of the packet, so if you want to refer to it.
Which color one should we look?
So the darker,
On the second page.
yeah, there's a date on the second page. It says today's date.
Yeah, for the 391 that took us.
Yep. So I'm really gonna run through this first page. The second page is closed items, and you're welcome to, peek through, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. About half of those were settled by Connie, my predecessor. And then half were settled by me, so I may or may not know about them, but feel free to ask. So starting with the top item, we'll just run through them real quick. 28 Whitney, there was a case where a structure was put on the edge of the property violating side setbacks. The structure ended up being used as a massage business, which was also not permitted as a home occupation. It would be allowable as a home occupation, except they were using access from their neighbor's property to bring clients in, and the neighbors were pretty upset, obviously, because they were parking on their property. So the resolution that I have now with this is that they're no longer operating a business out of there. They're not going on their neighbor's property. The structure remains. I had a lot of communication with the violator, and they had said that they were going to move the structure, and they still haven't. We could issue fines at this point. I believe the structure's about 20 feet off the property line. The setback is 25 feet. It's kind of one of those cases where I've come to my own solution of we've gotten rid of the offending problem to the neighbor, and do we want to pursue this further with fines? I'm open to advice on that if anyone wants to contribute that. If they want me to pursue things like this with fines more aggressively, we can talk about that, and I'm happy to, listen to the commission. The second item is 5 July, which you guys know a little bit about. There's been an ongoing neighborly dispute between 5 July and 3 July since I started this position. There are hundreds of emails that have come through and come in and out, and lots of phone calls too. So this is kind of a case of, someone using the zoning regulations as they could be used, but maybe for a purpose that is not totally how we want them to be used. I don't know. It's up for discussion. There was a fence placed on the property. The fence is a sale fence, which means it's, some sales the kind that you see at a playground. But the sun sails were put vertical to sort of act like a barrier, like you can't see through. So the fence was placed on 3 July. It's not above the height restriction, which is 35 feet in the neighborhood. It was too close to the side setback of the yard, which is 25 feet. So I received a complaint from 5 July. I addressed it with a letter to 3 July. They didn't respond right away, and I had their email, so I reached out to the residents via email. They responded immediately after. And I said, you know, to be in compliance, we can move this fence back to the regulated 25 feet. There is a section in the zoning regulations, section 8.14, which allows a lot of discretion to the zoning official to decide if a structure is going to create a negative impact on the neighborhood or character or not. Super discretionary, something that I don't want to focus on aesthetics in a neighborhood. I feel like that's a slippery slope. So I did not want to base my decision on an aesthetic of a fence that's one person might not like. So my decision in this was that if they move the fence back to the regulated 25 feet, they would be in compliance. The residents at 5 July did not like this decision, so they've decided to appeal to the ZBA, which is entirely within their means. So there's a pending hearing scheduled at the ZBA. I think it's February 26th. Yep, February 26th. So ZBA will hear that and they will decide to uphold my decision or not, in which case then the fence would have to be taken down. So the only thing I want to bring up with that I think we could talk in our regulation revisions is, you know, maybe some of these very discretionary words in our regulations that leave a lot of aesthetic decisions to the zoning official should be reconsidered.
Good, that makes sense.
That was the longest one, so I promise the rest will be quicker. 15 Oakwood, this is a person who's working with me currently. They put up a storage container. They had met with me previously and they knew that they had to apply for a building permit, but they hadn't done it, so technically it was violation. I ended up just calling this woman to let her know that she needed to apply. She came in right away. She applied for the permits. She can have a temporary storage container for up to a year, so I'm working with her on that. The next section is all violators who we are currently working with. 134 West Street was a previous hoarding case. We've had really good success in the last year. He was, Casella donated a dumpster to help him out. And he was able to get rid of a lot of the junk in the yard. This was after his house was on fire, so he also used it for that. Yeah, so he doesn't live there anymore. He has a new place that he lives, I think, in Willimantic, but the house is in compliance, or the yard is in compliance, I should say, at this time, which is our zoning purview. So it's just kind of on my mind to monitor to see if he comes back and starts, you know, hoarding stuff again. 339 Route 87 is, I have it categorized as a blight case, but it's kind of gone over to the health department now. There was a report that there was garbage outside and rats were being attracted to the property, which is more of a health code violation. So Glenn took that over. I just haven't gotten an update from him. 213 Route 6. This is the property Jerry's Marina over by 0 Route 6, where we had the excavation and grading. During that time when the hearings were going on, I received a violation report that there was a dumpster overflowing behind Jerry's Marina and that there were materials sliding down the slope. I don't know the technical term, but they're like concrete pipe castings from whoever worked the property before Target even came in, and they were left there for a really long time. They have become a part of the stabilization of that slope behind Jerry's Marina. So I have met with the new owner several times, and we came to the solution that everything will be basically he'll pile soil on top of it during the excavation grading process and seed and loam, and so it won't be visible, but getting into removing that and affecting that slope that is currently supporting the foundation for Jerry's is not really a good idea. So 348 Route 87 is a dilapidated house. I'm not sure, you might be familiar with this. It's right off, if you go down this way, right on your right. It's very close to the road. Recently, this property owner came in for a building permit and he does want to redo the house. I think full demolish and build a new house, which is great. But he hadn't responded to any of my notices of violation. So he was issued fines because I had several concerned residents who live in the area in contact with me, and you know, the house is in a really bad state. So the fines aren't substantial. I mean, they're decent. It's $1,550. So we're asking to pay that before he moves forward with his building permit. Which hopefully he will do. We sent him another email today to hope that he will get back in touch with us. So we're kind of waiting. That's in progress. Lighthouse Motors, I received some complaints that the dealership was potentially unlicensed and that cars were in a state that they could be sold, so it could be considered blight. I've been in touch with Vera a lot since then. She has moved some of the cars off the property. She said she's in the process of fixing them up for sale. And the dealership is licensed now. She had to get her license renewed and submit like an annual report to the Secretary of the State, which I guess all dealerships have to do. And so she's up to date on her paperwork as it stands. I just had a call with her today, so it's something that I'm monitoring and I'm in touch with her on. The two below this with legal action pending, these are the last two I'll go through. You may or may not be familiar, 149 Route 6. This is a property, both of these, obviously legal action pending means that the town has gone to court against these two properties. And we have received judgments on both. They're both hoarding cases. The judgments say that we can go in and remove any items that were listed in, there's like a bunch of pictures in the list of items that were a part of the judgment. The town can go in at any time and remove those. The first case, 149 Route 6, the property owner has worked to remove items on his own, and he has done, honestly, a pretty good job with the amount of stuff that he had on that property. I've not received any further complaints on him. Doesn't appear to be accumulating again, but so it's something I'm keeping an eye on, but we're not taking any more action on his property. 589 Route 87, you might be aware we already had action commence on this property in March 2025. The town went in and took materials, which included trailers, vehicles, motorcycles, dirt bikes, tons of stuff that were on his adjoining property, took them out. They were basically sold for scrap metal. The town recouped the cost to help pay for the removal. And he was understandably upset about this. He still has a lot of stuff on his main property by his house. So the town has considered going in for phase 2. We decided on not doing it. Although recently we have heard that there's a barn on the property. It's falling apart. The roof is caved in. It was condemned by the building inspector at the time this judgment was issued, so the town's allowed to go take the barn out. The issue is the town can't go in and take the barn with all the stuff in the way. You can't access it. So it may come to the fact that we need to remove some of those items to access the barn, to remove it, because as it stands now, it's a liability to the town. We've already condemned it. If someone gets hurt by that barn, the town is obviously at fault. So we are going to remove that barn, and some stuff might have to be removed to access it. I think that's it. We got complaints investigated I won't get into because they're not ongoing, but if you have any questions about ongoing stuff, anything else?
Okay, thanks, Samantha. That's super helpful. So just so the commission knows, it's one thing for us to go through it and, obviously we write the regulations and we try to adjust things as needed. And, these can be very uncomfortable situations, obviously, with zoning enforcement. So I've asked Savannah if there's ever an opportunity and there's permission that I'm gonna ride along with her on anything that's enforced or visits, just so that I can get a one-on-one sense of what this actually means to do this. And part of it is I know that the job is very difficult. So, I just want I want to see and I would encourage anyone on the commission to have conversations with Savannah about this. It's one thing for us to kind of beat the desk in here and say enforce. It's another thing to have to face the person. So I would encourage anyone to have those conversations with Savannah, and if it's ever appropriate to, go along with you. It's us as elected officials, I think it's important. So
Thanks. I appreciate it.
So
Excuse me, Justin. Yeah, question.
Yeah.
Savannah, is it possible in your matrix here to include the zoning section that we're talking about? So that if we get this ahead of time, then we can look at the section and maybe understand better what's going on.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can do that. No problem.
I'm gonna piggyback on that too, because I actually, so all of these violations I know you said that some of the closed ones were from your
Yeah.
Assessor.
Yeah.
But were all of those violations in the regulations? Were they, like grass not being mowed? I did a quick search, there's nothing in there.
That's in the blight ordinance.
It is, okay.
So blight ordinance is a different document from the zoning
Okay,
rules.
my.
You can find it on
Okay,
one website, yeah, but technically me and I think the building official, and maybe the fire marshal can be like blight ordinance officials too.
okay.
Is the blight ordinance, Board of Selectmen ordinance?
They must have passed that a long time ago, this like this.
It would have been adopted by town meeting.
Town meeting, okay.
Yeah, so whoever drafted it, it would have been adopted by town meeting.
Yeah, and tell me if this is accurate, but I think so. I think personally, one of the good things that we did a few years ago was make sure that violations are in writing and that the person who's creating the violation has to put their name to it. So it's not anonymous,
absolutely.
because we literally, let's just face the reality of it. You know, sometimes there was a small handful of people in town who had the zoning enforcement officer on speed dial, and it was their mission to go around and turn people in for stuff. So when you look at something like, you know, long grass, or, you know, it's just, some of it is what it is, whatever, we don't have to debate it. But, you know, I mean, is there anything else as far as what we can do or anything that you're dealing with that you feel that we should look at regulatory wise, or? Other than, I mean, you mentioned kind of like the open-ended stuff and discretion and things like that.
Yeah, I think that in itself would have a huge impact on my day to day, like. I'm not here to make aesthetic decisions for, you know, elected officials. I want as much guidance as possible from you guys to hear what the town wants, you know. Give me the rules to abide by and I will follow them, but I don't think there should be these huge gray areas. I don't think it helps. It does fuel kind of these neighborly disputes, so that was my big thing. I do have a couple other items that I'll bring up at regulation revision, which are smaller. That's just more of an overarching feeling.
Just one observation, this list is smaller than it's ever been.
Yes.
Because you've been effective at getting these resolved, and I want to give you a compliment on that. Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, you've done a very good job of getting
Thanks.
through it and moving things off of.
Appreciate it.
Anybody else have any questions or comments? Okay, all right, we'll move on. The next one we'll probably do around May, so if we just want to make a note of that.
Yep.
All right, the next thing is the CFPZA, Connecticut Federation of Planning and Zoning Agencies Conference. It's coming up in March. I have not attended this. Did anybody in here attend? Have you ever attended that? Anybody else? No. I talked to John today about it, so they are gonna have a discussion about HB 8002. But it's like at 8 o'clock after dinner and awards, so I don't know how much they're actually gonna talk about it. It sounds like it's probably a decent networking opportunity because there'll be lots of people there in similar positions to us, so I might tentatively plan on going. Some of you probably got cryptic messages from me too today about how long you've been on zoning. So there is an awards for kind of longevity for people who've been over 12 years on zoning positions, which would be nice to get recognized. Some of the folks in here. But beyond that, I think we have the information if we want to attend. John, do you want to just talk about it just briefly from your experience?
Sure. So it's well, I as really kind of I will fully acknowledge I'm not a huge fan of the Connecticut Federation of Planning and Zoning Agencies. I will note that I was part of a Connecticut Planning Association overview of Bill 8002 that was presented to our fellow planners, about 300 of us, about 2 weeks ago. We have a PowerPoint from that I'd be happy to share. But alternatively, I'll note that my firm, Tyche Planning and Policy Group, which serves 25 towns, give or take, and your town attorney, Haller and Sage, who serve, you know, at least that many, probably twice that many municipalities. We're combining forces and doing basically a clients only presentation and explanation of 8002, which is now Public Act 25-1. In early March. We're looking at March 11th, which is a Wednesday evening. We're basically going to have an hour or an hour and a half Zoom webinar, again, for all of our client municipalities, including Columbia. to basically describe the components of this bill, the implications, things that would need to change, things that will be handled locally, things that will be handled regionally, and to sort of answer some questions. So we're going to be, putting together a dedicated production presentation for you guys. And I'll also note that it will count for land use commissioner training too. So this is a two birds with one stone kind of situation taking place in March. So we're putting together a flyer on that this week, and we'll get that out there real soon. So that's a free alternative. You don't have to drive to the AquaTurf at a winter night, and you can watch a webinar on your computer in your house.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, we'll definitely want to get familiarized with 8002 and have more discussion. So if you can send that information out, that'd be great. We'll do that.
Yep.
Hey, Justin, excuse me.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
When you were talking about people that had served 12 years or more, please don't forget Tom Courier. I think he was on the board since 2009, which is like 17 years or something like that. So, and there may be other people who have recently been involved with planning and zoning over the last couple of years that might qualify for that. So,
yeah, thanks. I did reach out to Tom today and a few others as well. So I appreciate that. Yeah, I think that's important.
Yeah.
Anything else on that one? Okay, let's move to commission open discussion. Again, welcome Nick Ferris and Bob Powell to the commission. You guys have anything you want to say before we move on?
I'm happy to be here.
Thanks, Nick. Bob, anything? No? Okay, welcome back. I got just two quick things. So Mary Kay probably cursing at me, but I had her print out the regulations so everybody has a copy of the regulations and the bylaws. You can leave them here. We'll hold on to them here. If you want to bring them home, you can. The nice thing about this is it's updated, and she'll keep it updated. So as we go through our meetings, if we need to just quickly refer to something, you don't have them printed out or you don't have your computer, then you can look at them that way. So I just encourage you to do that. And then the second thing, just in open discussion, I want to say real quick, a couple months ago, Shredded Little Italy came in front of us for an application approval, and he's been doing a really, really good business in the landmark. I think it goes to show like the good things that we can do and working with people and making sure that we're easy to work with. I think it really, really has been a benefit to the town, especially that part of town. And I just wanted to say that on the record. He's had lines out the door sometimes in the cold weather, so he's doing well and he's a great guy. So, any other commission open discussion? Nothing. Okay. Audience of citizens, Pat, it's you. If you want to say something. No? Okay. All right. There is no executive session. Just need a motion to adjourn. Dave, make motion, second. All those in favor? Okay, thanks everybody, appreciate it. We'll see you next time.